Hey, welcome back to the Meaningful Ideas Trading Club. Lucas, thank you for being here. Lucas is going to talk quite a bit today about his production company and what he's doing.
Hello, it's nice to meet you all. I've seen some familiar faces in here when I have time to pop in. But yeah, I'm super excited to kind of just share my insight on social media, video production as a whole, and how it really relates to your brands, and it's continuing to become super important to have as an asset in your marketing strategies. I can kind of give a brief synopsis of where I'm at and how I got to where I'm at now. So I started working for Red Bull. I worked for them for 2 years, did a lot of marketing with them, just understood why they were doing things, what they were doing, and when they were doing them. So I really used it almost as like a case study of just like analyzing every single thing I could, because they are still to this day one of the most successful brands on social media that exists in the world. That's where they pour all of their budget towards marketing, is social media. And yeah, they spend millions of dollars sending their athletes to crazy parts of the world, but that is all done within a strategy of marketing. What I really started to understand is relatability. And that's where it comes down to social media, especially, is how do you create videos, in my case, that relate to your target market, because no one's going to buy something if they can't imagine them in the shoes with that product themselves.
So I mean, you're saying relatability is important, and I think, like, look, if Red Bull's been successful with it, right, and you're wondering if you've got the right business for it, it sounds like you might want to follow Red Bull's lead. So you've learned a lot from working for them, right?
Yeah, exactly. And they really stress their usage causes, is what they call them. So I think when I was working there, they had 5 or 6 usage reasons. So whether it's like sports, leisure, travel, work, they have all these different ways that their consumers are buying their products and why they're buying their products. So they created marketing assets around those usage reasons, because again, relatability to those consumers, if they can see the reason why they're using it, and then they can come back to a social media post or a video or a commercial, whatever it might be, where Red Bull's pushing out that usage reason. That's a huge top of mind strategy that those companies are using to remain top of mind for their consumers.
So how does somebody get started if they're interested in using social media, video production, short form content? What is short form content? How does somebody get started?
Yeah, so it's really hard now, especially for me, because it is so easy. um, but when it starts to become complex is understanding your brand from a consumer's perspective. As business owners, I especially even fall fault to this as well, is how do I understand what someone's thinking about before they reach out to me? And that's the golden ticket. If you can understand someone's mind before they even start to think about and go through the decision-making process of what they're going to purchase, that's where you start with social media strategies. You have to understand human psychology and understanding what people are looking for, where and when. And social media has become a point where, with organic reels, whether that's TikTok, YouTube Shorts, Facebook Reels, Instagram Reels, if you create targeted content that fits your target market and you're using keywords within your videos, hooks, trending music, whatever the algorithm says it's doing that month, that's how you organically target your market. And if you combine that with great usage reasons, you're starting to attach to their top of mind mentality.
So Lucas, how are you helping people that are here today? How are you helping entrepreneurs, people that are wanting to get started, trying to figure out like the lay of the land, right?
Yeah, so I take a pretty unique approach to this. It's more from a business perspective. So I use my company as a great example. Is like, what do I want from creating social content? I don't really care about a big following. I don't like make my videos for a huge following and to become an influencer doing it. I create them in like my personal videos that I'm sharing, or like the videos that I'm putting out on my website. All again go back to like relating. So if I can help someone understand the importance of it, and give them a little bit of information on why it's important and what you can be doing about it. My goal with everything is kind of equipping everyone with the ability to do it on their own. But where my team really comes in is taking that time away from doing it, because that's one thing that I definitely have understood, is like creating social content, especially videos, an ad or a reel for like a jewelry product, it takes a lot of time and a lot of thought that goes into like, how are you going to create this? What's the story behind it? And then editing it is a whole new beast that takes a ton of time out of a lot of people's days. Um, so what I created was, as I was starting to get bigger and bigger projects, from a production company standpoint, going anywhere when I was used to doing a couple of $1,000 projects to now a lot of my work is $10,000 to $50,000 productions, which is great. But then I started to understand this massive gap that I was missing is coaches or real estate agents or insurance agents or even small to medium sized businesses who really want to make awesome content, but maybe don't have that type of budget to push out a couple of those productions every year. Or they just have a lack of understanding and maybe it's a scary subject to them, because that's what I have realized with a lot of people that I've met within the entrepreneurship world is social media is pretty scary because it reflects your brand. It's evergreen. So if you say something stupid once at a networking event, it's probably not going to live past it. But if you do something stupid on social media, it's there forever. So that's a super scary thing for a lot of people to come to terms with. So as I was starting to understand this gap between higher level productions, where usually those companies know what they're doing, they know what they want, and we're just there to create that idea and execute it for them. I started to understand that there's this whole other world that we haven't really been touching into that is super valuable. There's a huge opportunity, not only for my business to scale in it, but a huge opportunity for people who don't utilize social media to utilize it to whatever goals they may have. So it really boils down to less of the creation side, like actually filming and executing those. But it comes down to understanding your brand, your niches, who you want to target on social media, and then using our creative directors to come up with ideas for you. But they're very baseline ideas in the way that social media reflects your personality. So if I were to create a video for someone, it's maybe not as speaking to much as their personality as my vision of what I think their personality is. So we're giving them everything that they need, these ideas, on how to execute them. And then we really stress them to be involved in that process too, because we're taking a lot of the time out of their day, coming up with these ideas, finding out what's trending, giving them reference videos. But then we let them execute those videos if they want. Reels have become so rough around the edges, I almost want to say, is like, you don't need crazy cinematics. You don't need these flashy videos. You just need to be real. And the issue that a lot of people have is they'll put themselves on social media as this almighty person, especially in our industry. I see it a lot, is like, I look at someone who does video production out in LA and I'm like, you might be the famous person I ever met. But then you meet them and they're totally not that person. So being relatable, but also being personable, because a lot of these people, like a goal for a lot of social media businesses is to generate leads off their social media. So if you're portraying yourself to be one person and then you actually are super excited because you got a lead and you meet them and they're like, whoa, this is not you, like totally met two different types of people. So that's why we really stress letting them be a part of that creative process.
Tell us about some of the social media. What is social media? What are the sites? Can we quickly break down kind of what each one is, if you have some knowledge on that, and kind of like how your company tries to work with Instagram versus, I don't know, TikTok, for example?
Yeah. So I think before you say that, I think it's really interesting that you kind of what you just mentioned, because I'll use an example of one of my clients. They were the title sponsor for the NHL playoffs. So they're all involved with everything for it. So we were talking about different creative ideas looking to the Stanley Cup playoffs. And obviously one of them is like the big commercials that they see during the TV airing. And that was like, what I found really interesting with that is one of the last things that we really covered. The first one was our social sponsored assets. Like, who are the influencers that we want to use? What type of content do we want to create around it? And who do we want to engage with online? So I thought it was really interesting because I was super excited to be like, oh, I'm going to film like this awesome commercial for the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
But the first one was like, let's like nail out our social media before we even dive into this. So that just kind of even shows of a multi-billion-dollar brand, what they're emphasizing even now too is like the importance of social media, because It's the first thing that people look at when they want to see the score of the game. They're going to Google it, or they're going to see it on ESPN, on Instagram. So there's so much topic and conversation around these major events. What we really break down, I can kind of even just like go through the pretty quick process of what we do. That might make the most sense for
Yeah,
this.
is that okay?
Yeah. So we broke it down into 5 or 6, depending on needs, steps that we work with for every client for social media marketing. So the first one will be we break it up into month schedules to just make it easy for everyone. So on a Monday, whatever Monday we start on is our ideation meeting. So sometime that week, me and one of the creative directors that's assigned to you as a client will meet with you. We'll take a look at past reports, how everything performed the month prior, and then we'll start to ideate with you what type of content we want to push out this month for you. So this really involves you in the creative process. It gets us in a brainstorming session together, because that is one of the main issues that a lot of people struggle with. And that is the biggest area that we create value for a lot of the people that we work with, is we help you come up with ideas to create content. That's a huge barrier for a lot of people, that's a huge time suck. So we employ one of our directors to work with you, and as well as I'll be on those meetings to help you come up with ideas. So say we create 10 reels a month for you. We'll probably come up with 20 to 25 ideas for you to look at. They come on an idea tree. I can pull one up in a little bit too to kind of show you what that looks like. But there'll be broad scope ideas that will help you kind of relate to a personal part of your brand that you can share. So from that point on, we give a 3-week time frame for you to go out and film those ideas. If you want filming to be a part of it, that's kind of the extra step that we add in. But what I've really started to emphasize, especially since I work with people all around the US, filming is one of the most expensive parts of video production. Like for me to fly out, or for me to even employ someone that lives by you to come out and film, that's, baseline probably $1,000+ a month to come out and film. So I created a system that I teach you everything you need to know on how to film with no lights, use natural light, and use your iPhone. It's totally possible. It's totally doable. Tons of viral content is only filmed on an iPhone anyways. So you can use those as examples that it is effective still. So over that 3-week time frame, you can film as many as you want. Does not matter to us. And what we'll do after that 3-week time frame is we'll sit down again together and look over all the raw clips that you shot. You'll batch them up into each video you think it'll be a part of, and we'll select however many we agree to edit for you that month. Kind of like wraps up what we look at when it goes into editing. Is our goal was to take as much time off of your hands while also creating the most value for you. So when we're editing them, we push out, post and schedule, optimize the posts with whatever we're testing at the current point. And then after a couple of months of testing different strategies, one thing that I learned super fast was you can't just test for a week and then come to a conclusion after that week. It is a consistent 3 to 4 week test for everything, because it goes back to consistency. So coming to conclusions too fast is a huge error that a lot of people who are trying it on their own face, because they don't think they're performing, but they haven't given it enough time for really anything within the social media world to understand. And then we'll take a look again at that end month, create a report, give you the report, like understanding what goals. And this is where it's really important for a lot of people to understand is every business is going to have different goals when they're looking at social media. Say for a jewelry brand, it's going to be totally different for a jewelry brand versus you, Kyle, because people in Peru might be looking for jewelry, but they're not looking for a lawyer in Wisconsin. So understanding your audience, what you're trying to build, like, are you trying to build leads long-term? Are you trying to just build awareness for your brand? Understanding like that main focus, and then it's okay to branch out. But you have to have kind of like a main focus of what's your purpose with everything. And that's, for an entrepreneur, that's for everything, is what is your purpose for doing what you're doing. But it boils down even further to social media. If you just want to be present, that's great. But how can we create content that resembles your presence then versus, creating stuff that's maybe targeted to generating leads in the future?
appreciate all the insight that you gave to us today and the steps that your company does. All right, guys, we'll see you later. Thanks. Appreciate it.